Broadcasting live from SETI Alpha 6 in the Andromeda Galaxy, this is Mr. C.
Happy 1st of the month. I couldn't wait to say it to you. So pass it on to other people, it being October the 1st, October 1st. And it's a big day. It's why I have my Aloha shirt on today. Is it Friday? No, it's Thursday. But October 1st, my grandson, Xander, I've got to remember which grandson, my grandson Xander's birthday. So anyway, it's a big day, and we're going to celebrate it today, so I am already celebrating. Okay, so here we are, Thursday. Now, already you've numbered to 10 on a white sheet. Actually, I should have had you number to 13. So number to 13 on that white sheet. Add some additional numbers. And if you'd have out LS2 and 3. LS2 and 3. If you'll have those out at the ready, that would be great. Homework going in your lesson planner, of course. And this is like a no-brainer, right? I wonder what homework is tonight since we have a test tomorrow. That would be triple R big time. About the test, okay? About the test. This is the last BFT of the quarter. What do you mean BFT? Big, fat test. It's a big fat one. It's going to be 35 points minimum, I would say. 30 to 35 points. Okay? So, and just a word to the wise. Many of you did really well on last week's test. Though I've just been grading them, and some of you, my goodness, do you need to triple R to pull your grade up? Some of you are in a category that you don't want to be. You know, like D as in Delta. Want to be there? So, and I don't even want the unmentionable grade. So, if you find yourself in one of those categories, I would really triple R. Harder than you have all quarter. Okay? Now you're getting a break. In fact, you're getting 2 breaks right now. Everything I covered today, it's going to be on the test. So it's like, I wonder what is on the test. I went over it, in many cases, twice. So let's just say you have the unfortunate experience of not doing well on tomorrow's big fat test. Would it be appropriate to complain, say to a parent, well, I really didn't know what was on the test? This will be the second time I've gone over it. If you use that excuse, you and I both know what's going on. Pinocchio, you get a big Pinocchio. Pinocchio knows. So, be honest. Just study for it. Just triple R for it. Okay. I better mention late work. And here's the other break, besides me going over what's on the test. Here's the other break. The quarter ends officially next week, like a week from tomorrow. But I'm going to extend when all assignments may be turned in. No later than. This is like the absolute deadline. I'm going to give you to Wednesday. Now, it's not because I'm being soft. I should have thought it through a little better. End of the quarter next week, you have till Wednesday. Okay? So, you know out there whether you have assignments that you haven't turned in. You RLO students, you know if you have assignments that you haven't turned in. What are you going to do about it? I don't really know. You better do something about it. You better get them in. Because can I tell you a little math principle? Any time that you add a 0 to an average, It's not helpful. I'm just saying. Mr. C, you know math, huh? Uh-huh. I know that principle. Anytime you add a zero to an average, doesn't help the average out much. So, the late work that you know about that you haven't turned in, get it in. I messaged almost all of you that have late work that you need to get in. It's on RenWeb. You can look on RenWeb and go, let me see now. I'm looking across my assignment line. How come I don't have a score there and there and there? Because you didn't turn the work in yet. And it's going to go to a goose egg. So anyway, it's, as they say, the ball is in your court. So take care of it, please. Okay, here are guarantees about what's going to be on the test. I guarantee it. Okay, first, Psalm 139, 13 and 14. It's worth 2 points. You've got to write the whole thing. I'm not going to recite it. It's on your verse sheet. Review it. You've got to know the meaning of Psalm 139, 13 and 14. It's on the test. I'm not going to tell you how I'm going to ask it. But it is such an important truth. It's why I have you memorize it. What's the major meaning of Psalm 139, 13 and 14? God designed you and me and all of us using our DNA. He designed us using our DNA, our genetic material that's in the nucleus of our very first cell, our zygote. So God designed us using our DNA. It's going to be there. Okay? Next, these questions really quick. Here we go. Write them down on your white sheet. What do you call a many-celled organism? Number one, many-cell. Write it fast. Starts with M. Many-celled organism. Down it goes. Number two, what do you call a one-celled organism? Write it down quickly. Mr. C, can I kind of use this like a study guide? Uh-huh. These are on the test, guaranteed. All right? This is 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. This is on the bottom of LS2. It's right. Are you sure it's there on the bottom? Uh-huh. Right here. Right there. There it is. Okay. I'm asking it. This is, again, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Number 3. The answer is cells. Cells make up, number 4, what? Number 5, which in turn make up organs. I gave it to you. Cells make up, number 4. And then number 5, organs. They go together to make up organs. And organs go together to make up organ. That's number 6. And number 7, all of this, the whole enchilada, makes up the whole living thing. What's the name for that? The whole living thing. Could be human, animal, plant. What do we call any living thing? Number 7. Number 8. What's the meaning of microscope? It's a compound word, 2 parts. What's the meaning? What does it mean? It's number 8, 9, and 10. The 2 kinds of microscopes. What do they use to magnify things? Microscopes magnify things. They make things appear to be larger than they are. They don't enlarge them. They just make them look like they're bigger than they are. So the two major kinds of microscopes. On the test. What are they? Write them down. 9 and 10. 11. What's the green coloring in green plants found in the chloroplasts? What do you call it? Has it got a T by it? Yep, it's on the test. Green pigment. It's just so important. God designed it. It's too complex to form by itself, to evolve. When light hits it, it causes sugars to be produced for the plant. Number 12. What is the word that means to make using light? It's what green plants do. They make sugars using light. What's the name for it? It's a compound word. Number 12. All right, here are your answers. Number 1, many-celled organism, multicellular. Number 2, one-celled organism, unicellular. It's right there on LS2 on the bottom. So, now, if for some reason you go, you know what, I don't know what happened to my LS2, 1 and 2. I think aliens stole it. Or maybe my dog threw up on it. That's it, my dog threw up on it. Whatever. If you don't have a lesson summary, talk to Mr. Gilbert about that. Okay, where are we now? Okay, we are on number 3, cells, which make up tissues, number 4. Cells 3 make up tissues, number 4, which in turn make up organs, number 5. And number 6, which makes up organ systems, like a respiratory system or a circulatory system. And then number 7, what do you call any living thing? An organism. Got a T by it? Yep, on the test. Organism. Now, if I'm telling you all these things are going to be on the test in one form or another, what are you doing? Are you just sitting there going, it's going to be on the test? Are you putting red dots by things? Putting T by things? Making notes? You're welcome for the help. Number 11, what do we call the green pigment in green plants? Chlorophyll, nothing else. Chlorophyll, found in the chloroplasts. Number 12, what is the term that green plants make sugars using light? Photolight, synthesis to make. Photosynthesis, number 12. Okay, so next, microscopes. All the microscope information is going to be on the test. I'm not going over the microscope parts. I already did it twice. I went over them. You're supposed to have a drawing in your journal. Do you? Did you put anything down when I went over the microscope parts? Am I angry today? No, I'm just trying to motivate you to get ready for the BFT. Now, I need to tell you about a few procedures I'm going to ask you about. They're on the test besides the parts. So how do you know you're close enough to the eyepiece? How do you know? When what touches the eyepiece? Slowly you move in, and when your eyelashes are touching, you're there. Second procedure thing. How do you know what the magnification power is that you're using? You multiply the eyepiece magnification times the objective lens magnification. 4 power on the objective, 10 power on the eyepiece. 4 times 10, 40 magnification. 10 times 10, 43 times 10, those are the other objectives on our microscopes. So that's how you know. Do you have it down anywhere? It wasn't on your lesson summary. So are you going to put it there? Eyepiece magnification times objective lens magnification. This is one of the hardest ones. I've got a star by it right now. How do you know an objective lens is in place when you turn it? How do you know? I showed you at least twice. When you turn the objective lens on the outside and you hear it click into place. You know the objective lens is locked into where it should be. Okay. All right. It is time now for a little break for Mr. Gilbert to stop the video and ask if there's any questions heretofore up to this point. Okay, the next little segment is on LS4. So you'll want to have it out. It's chemical compounds and cells. We've already gone over the first part, but I'm going to review some of it. It's all the first part is on the test and all the second part is on the test. Look how much I have highlighted. It's all on the test, all of this. How many points right there? I don't know, 12 probably, maybe 15, maybe. Okay. Okay. You know, there was one other thing I was going to ask you, and I don't think I did this regarding the microscope, and I better do it now. I don't want to forget. Okay. What are the two pieces of equipment that microscopes have that magnify? Kind of two major kinds. They either use these. What are these little rascals? These little beauties. Convex lenses. This is about the fourth time I've done this. Convex lenses. Or they use electrons. Teeny tiny particles, parts of atoms. Electrons. Are they on the test? You betcha. So, anyway, you're welcome. I just want to make sure I got those. Okay, so chemical compounds in the cells, I'm going to ask you all the stuff on the top. What do you call a basic kind of matter that can't be broken down into any smaller substance? What do you call it? An element. You love the word. Element means basic. It's just, what are the basic building blocks of matter? These elements. How many are there? About 100. I'm writing down 100 right here. And I'm going to ask it. It's on the test. About how many different elements are there? About 100. Okay, now I want you to know 4. I'm going to ask you which one is the major element that the atmosphere is made of. Nitrogen, about 78%. Okay, it doesn't hurt us when we breathe it in, except if we're a skin diver and we're rising too fast. Then it will produce nitrogen bubbles that expand in our blood vessels and we're in trouble then. That's why if you're a scuba diver, you come up slowly and you stop at a certain place to allow those nitrogen bubbles to diffuse, to get smaller. Then you come up at a certain speed slowly. You don't come up really fast. That's the reason. Anyway, no charge. That's nitrogen. And then what do you call what the sun is made of? What element? Hydrogen. And on the sun, it's hydrogen that fuses together to make heat and light. Hydrogen, fusion, heat and light. So hydrogen gas. Then we also have it on the earth. The other two elements that I want you to know, basic kinds of matter. O for oxygen. And I want you to know their symbols. O for oxygen, N for nitrogen, H for hydrogen. And then the last one that I want you to know is, let's see, C for carbon. And living tissues are made of carbon. In fact, all of these compounds down below, the 4 kinds, carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and nucleic acids, are all made, they've got carbon. They've got carbon atoms in them, the element carbon. Okay? C for carbon, O for oxygen, N for nitrogen, H for hydrogen. Okay? Now, what do you call it where you take one element and you combine it with another element? Element, element, compound. Element, element, compound. Do that out loud. Don't hurt yourself. Okay? Or don't touch your neighbor around you. So it's element, element, compound. On the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Element, element, compound. Elements combine with other elements and make compounds. More complex matter. So I'll ask that. It's right here on the top. Okay? And I gave you 2 common compounds. The gas you breathe out, it's a compound. It's a combination of carbon from what you ate and then oxygen, CO2. CO2. O2 in, CO2 out. Okay? That's a compound. What's the other compound? Glug, 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 glug. What is it? I've got some in here. Wah wah. Water. H2O. I'm going to ask you those 2 compounds. Do we have to know the chemical symbols? Yes, you do. CO2 for carbon dioxide. The di is 2. And then H2O. Water. Got to know those. Okay, the bottom box on LS4. Look at how I've marked that up. There we go. Okay, so really important. It talks about the major element found in living things. I already told you what it is. C for carbon. It's right there, and I'm going to ask you. There it is. Put a T by it. Carbon. And it says this: most compounds in living things contain the element carbon. There it is, right there. Okay? And then it goes on to say this. About 2/3 of every living thing is water. I'm going to ask that. So, and then there are 4 compounds that are in our foods that we need. And here they are. First of all, carbs, carbohydrates. I have some of my favorites. First, sugars and starches. These are my favorite carbohydrates. Bananas have sugar in them. Anything that has sugar in it, it's a carbohydrate. Crackers of any kind. Crackers. Wheat thins. I'm a fan. Hey, check this out. Oops. So, check this out. Good old Pop-Tarts. So, are they any good? Oh yeah, these are blueberry. Okay? Carbohydrates loaded with sugar. Probably too much. Oh, and I almost forgot. My favorite bread. Dave's bread. It's my favorite. Look at all those nutritious seeds. I don't care so much about the seeds. I don't mind them. I just love the taste. Dave's bread. And you know what? Don't tell anybody, okay? This is just a little idiosyncrasy about Mr. C. I always ask my wife and my daughter to save me the heels on the end of the loaf. Anyone else out there big heel fan? Thumb up, thumb up. You love heels? I love the heel on the end of a loaf of bread. Why? I don't know. Crunchy, I guess. I just like them. It's probably the texture, how it feels. Okay? I just like them. Okay, so there's 4 compounds that's in our food that we eat that our body needs. So carbohydrates for energy, sugar, and sugars and starches are examples. I'm going to ask you for an example of a carbohydrate. I'm going to ask you. Sugars and starches. So I'm going to ask. Okay, secondly, lipids. They're just fats, and they store energy. Right up here where it says lipids on the top, right there on box 2. It's not coming into focus, but it's like right there. Lipids. What do? Store energy for later use. So they're foods that contain lipids. What are some of them? Nuts is a lipid. Fish, there's a couple of examples of lipids that have fats in them that our cells need. So lipids, aka fats. Did you write fats above lipids? Do it now if you didn't. Lipids, fats. Okay, so we've done carbs, we've done lipids. There's 2 left. Okay? Proteins. Oh, I know about those, Mr. C. Proteins. Let me see, would that be like meats, cheeses, beans? Proteins. What do? They give you muscle and other tissue. And they make hair. If you had some. Okay, which you do. Enjoy it, by the way. Enjoy it, especially you guys. Okay? So proteins. Foods again, meats, cheese, beans. I might ask you for an example of proteins. Are you putting that down? Are you writing it on LS4? Did you write that down? Did you write down examples of these? Lipids, did you write examples down? Fish, nuts. Did you write carbs down, sugars and starches? Proteins, did you write meats, cheese, beans? Okay. And then the last one is nucleic acids. These are the 4 right here. The 4 chemical compounds that are found in cells. Carbs, carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, and then the last one, nucleic acids. And I'm going to ask you for the major example of nucleic acids. What is it? The major example of nucleic acids. What would the major example be? DNA? Deoxyribonucleic acid. Oh, that's why they call it DNA for short. Yeah, because it's so complicated. Deoxyribonucleic acid. It's probably the most complicated individual part of your body. The chances of it evolving all by itself is like 1/10 to the several hundred. It's just no way. That means several hundred zeros behind it. Didn't happen, right? No, it didn't accidentally. Jesus made it. Yeah. And it really brings him glory. It's just so over the top amazing. Okay. So all of that I'm going to ask. Do you care? Will you study? Will you triple R? That's what I want to know. Now, it's possible today and tomorrow Mr. Gilbert is going to give you some microscope time. Now remember, on microscope, it's the compound word is, it means micro means tiny, scope means viewer. It's not a tiny viewer. It's a scope to look at tiny things, a viewer of tiny things. Okay? So, you know basically all the topics that are on the test. Not the questions, but the topics. You could write the test now. Okay? So anyway, I'm going to turn you loose to Mr. Gilbert, and he's most likely going to answer any questions now. He'll do that at the end of our sessions in the future. And then there might be time for some of you to get one microscope station in, and then maybe he's going to allow you to do triple R with a partner if he can trust you to actually do it and not mess around. He might not be able to, depending on your class. In fact, I'm going to recommend, I've heard reports, I'm going to recommend if it's a class that hasn't been real cooperative lately, don't do it. Just Mr. Gilbert, just have them study quietly on their own at their seat. Okay, they have to earn that kind of privilege. Yeah, it's got to be earned. So those of you doing a great job with that, way to go. Being really cooperative, you'll get to use scopes probably. And those of you that haven't been so cooperative, shape up, or no privileges, maybe no science activities in the future either. So you have to earn the right. So do it.